Politically, because remember, when Mr. Modi was in the opposition, he had advocated strict action against terror and had continued to attack Manmohan Singh for his Pakistan policy. Today, the shoe is on the other foot and questions are being raised on whether Narendra Modi and his government can deliver on the tough stand that he had advocated when he was not in power.
सेना के जवान देश की रक्षा करते हैं, लेकिन पाकिस्तान आकर के मेरे सेना के जवानों का सर काट ले और दिल्ली में बैठी हुई सरकार पाकिस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री को चिकन बिरयानी का भोजन कराए। ये नीच राजनीति है कि नहीं? ये नीच राजनीति है कि नहीं है? ये नीच कर्म है कि नहीं है?
The Prime Minister lashing out at the Manmohan Singh government's Pakistan policy when he was on the campaign trail in 2014.
ये माँ बेटे की सरकार ने जवानों की हाल क्या करके रखा है। आए दिन हमारे सेना के जवानों को मौत के घाट उतार दिया जाता है। पाकिस्तान हमारे सेना के सर काट के ले जाता है। भाइयों बहनों, ये माँ बेटे की सरकार का तो एक ही मंत्र है। लाल बहादुर शास्त्री का मंत्र था जय जवान जय किसान। माँ बेटे की सरकार का मंत्र है मर जवान मर किसान।
Two years later, after Pathankot and Uri, the shoe is on the other foot and Prime Minister Modi is being asked to walk the talk by his political opponents.
I don't think Mr. Modi's government has any policy on Pakistan whatsoever. If they have one, if at all, it's shambolic. I mean, this muscular machismo and, this belligerent rhetoric of the cabinet colleagues of Mr. Modi and himself as well of the past have only aggravated matters.
Part of the problem for the Modi government has been a lack of a coherent policy towards Pakistan. After inviting Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif for his swearing-in, the Modi government called off Foreign Secretary talks with Islamabad a few months later over the Pakistan High Commissioner's invite to Hurriyat. Last year in Ufa, the two Prime Ministers agreed to reset relations. Few months later, talks between the National Security Advisors were aborted. Last December, Mr. Modi sprang another surprise by travelling to Lahore for Mr. Sharif's granddaughter's wedding. A month later, Pakistani-based terrorists struck the army camp in Pathankot.
You should aim at marginalizing SARC. You should aim at reactivating BIMSTEC and developing your connections eastwards. You bypass Pakistan strategically through Chabahar. So I think these require strategic thinking and they're a process.
Because of Mr. Modi's statement on Balochistan, the focus has shifted away from Kashmir to Balochistan. Internationally also, Pakistan has been isolated.
The blow-hot, blow-cold approach towards Pakistan has now returned to haunt the Modi government. There are still those, especially from the left, who want Mr. Modi to stay with the dialogue process with Islamabad.
Why do you feel that India should talk to Pakistan?
Not they have to. I'm saying it right from before. This has got nothing to do with Uri attack. Uri attack we firmly condemn, squarely condemn, and we are telling Pakistan this will not be tolerated.
Perhaps the best example of how things change when in government and opposition is the position of Sushma Swaraj. When in opposition, Sushma had called for India to virtually attack Pakistan after 2 Indian soldiers were beheaded on the LOC.
अगर ये सिर नहीं आए तो उनके तो 10 सिर आए। सवाल ये है कि हम बिल्कुल प्रतिक्रिया के अलावा बैठे रहें और खेल खिलाते रहें और वार्ता करते रहें। ये तो नहीं होगा। कम से कम एक ताकतवर सरकार की प्रतिक्रिया तो हम दें।
Yesterday, the same Sushma Swaraj was not even present at the CCS meeting to decide on India's options after Uri. Her absence perhaps a stark reminder of how the Minister of External Affairs from the strategic decision-making being driven by the PMO. One of the many key decisions that the Modi government needs to make over the next few weeks is whether Prime Minister Modi should travel to Islamabad to attend the SAARC summit in November. While a final decision is yet to be taken, clearly there are dark clouds over the pending visit. India needs to decide if it wants to engage with Islamabad or to isolate it. And with key elections pending in some of the major states, domestic compulsions could well drive tough foreign policy decisions. In New Delhi with Rajdeep Sadasai and video journalist Krishan Kumar, this is Smita Sharma for India Today.
The big question then, can the government and the opposition have a united response towards Pakistan? Joining me now, Manish Tiwari, Congress spokesperson, former minister in the Manmohan Singh government, Nalin Kohli, BJP's spokesperson, and Mohammad Salim, CPIM MP, and Raj Chengappa, editorial director of India Today, is with me in the studio. Appreciate all of you joining us. Manish Tiwari, you and the Congress, and I include the other spokespersons, have gone for the government. One of you is quoted, Randeep Singh Surjewala, as saying, will the Prime Minister Narendra Modi show courage of conviction by acting against those responsible in his own command and control structure, including his defense minister? You have also questioned Mr. Modi, questioning the manner in which he targeted your government when you were dealing with Pakistan. Is this the time to target Narendra Modi and his government?
Oh, absolutely, Rajdeep, goes without saying, because political responses fall into two categories. One is the response that you and therefore legitimately entitled to stick it to you. And the second is critiquing the government and holding them responsible for their own rhetoric. And therefore, yesterday in the briefing, the tweets that I referred to were of Mr. Narendra Modi before he became Prime Minister, targeting the UPA government, knowing fully well as to how sensitive the entire issue of national security is.
Was this the right time?
And second were the statements.
I am asking you about your timing, not necessarily the content. Was this the right time? 24 hours after the attack on Uri, you are reminding the Prime Minister of all his old tweets.
Well, may I reverse the question, Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai, and ask you, was it appropriate for Mr. Narendra Modi, the Chief Minister of Gujarat, to be targeting the UPA government while the 2611 operation was going on? And you were reporting on that operation, Mr. Sardesai, if I remember correctly, from outside the Trident Hotel. So therefore, you cannot hunt with the hare and run with the hound. And that's why I was making the legitimate distinction between two situations. Situation one, holding the Prime Minister and his ministers accountable for their role when they were in opposition. And number two, holding them accountable to their rhetoric as the Prime Minister, as the Defence Minister, as the Home Minister, in terms of different statements articulated by them in their current role. So therefore, under those circumstances, if the government and the opposition, or if the government wants the opposition to be on the same page, and the opposition is prepared to be on the same page, then it requires at least a constructive outreach, a formal outreach to the opposition, and to try and see if the country as a whole can get onto the same page.
Mr. Nalin Kohli, you've heard Manish Tiwari saying the Prime Minister can't hunt with the hounds and run with the hares in a way.
Actually,
because
he got it wrong. He had said he can't hunt with the hares and run with the hounds.
That's right.
That's okay. The whole argument actually is wrong.
No, just a minute.
But I'm entitled to answer that.
Sure. Mr. Kohli, let me quote to you what Amit Shah said in April 2014. Once Modi ji becomes Prime Minister, leave incidents of beheading of Indian soldiers. Pakistani intruders will not even dare to enter the Indian side. Is it statements like this, tweets that he has made in the past, that has made it today difficult for you and the opposition to work out a united strategy? They seem to believe that when they were in power, Mr. Modi would target them every time there was an attack. Respond to that, Nalin Kohli.
Sure. I have multiple points to make.
Yes.
Let's go one by one. In the first place, the Congress party is entitled to have a point of view, and whether that is in sync with what the rest of the nation thinks, that is for them to decide. Perhaps some of us may even be celebrating with a point of view that they may from time to time take. Who are we to complain if they are not in sync with something that the nation is watching or the nation feels about? Second is, With regard to, there has to be an outreach and all, there was an outreach, there was an all-party meeting that did go, that delegation went to Jammu and Kashmir. That is there. The government of India will do under Prime Minister Modi what is needed for the benefit of the country.
No, you...
And the Congress party,
again,
let me finish.
Mr. Kohli, you're not answering my question.
No, I will. But you asked a question, I haven't forgotten. Mr. Tiwari has made a whole series of comments. I must also respond to that. You can't expect me not to respond to some of those comments. So let me continue in that. With regard to the Congress party, they are also entitled to believe that they would be doing a favor to the nation if they wanted to participate and help the government or be part of that thing in a collective response against someone who is acting like an enemy state. So it is for them to decide whether it's a favor or whether they are duty bound as any Indian is, and they as representatives of the people, whether they would like to be seen in that position. So it's their choice. The third is with regard to the policy, and which Manish Tiwari is referring to. Well, there is a marked change in the policy. Baluchistan was conceded not by anyone else but by the previous government, and they in fact went to the extent of saying this. Today the government's policy on Baluchistan is not exactly where it was under the UPA. If the UPA considered its policy to be successful, they need to answer. They have already been told so by the people. If we are not in sync with what the nation wants, we will have the people will have a chance to say so in 2019.
Sir,
but with regard
you did not answer my question.
I'm coming.
Amit Shah and Narendra Modi, when in opposition, kept targeting the Manmohan Singh government even while 26/11 attacks were going on in their aftermath. Today the Congress party is therefore responding and saying, why should we be in any way acknowledging or supporting you when you did not support us in 2014 or earlier when the attacks took place in 2008? It seems that the past is haunting the present. Do you concede that you are a victim of your own rhetoric?
No, I concede nothing. And sir, if I may also remind you, as I had said at the beginning of my answer, that I would like to respond to the comments of Manish Tiwari before I answer your question. So, I mean, I just wanted the same courtesy of just finishing my point.
You are not answering my question.
No, I will answer it now, Mr. Sardesai. Perhaps you don't want or you are not happy with the answer that I'm provided, but I'm entitled to reach out to the public and tell them what I think about Mr. Manish Tiwari with regard to conceding whether, we are a victim or we are held hostage by it. No, we are not. We simply, and I'm saying it on record, that whether it was at that time Chief Minister Modi, now Prime Minister Modi, or that time Mr. Amit Shah, who is now the president of the party, they articulated what the country was feeling. And we stand by what we said. The response of the Manmohan Singh government was of a Prime Minister who didn't speak. Now Prime Minister has gone and said that they will not go unpunished. There's a difference. Let the people judge.
Let the people judge. You still haven't specifically, though, still answered exactly why the government at the time was put under the kind of pressure that Narendra Modi and Amit Shah put them under with the kind of statements they made. But Manish Tiwari, let me ask you this before I move on to the others. Do you at least concede this is not a moment to score political points? That the Congress party, you may well feel that Narendra Modi and Amit Shah targeted you when you were in power on Pakistan. Is this the moment? Is this payback time, or is this time to stand united, Mr. Tiwari?
Mr. Sardesai, you've asked the same question 3 times over, but you do not give your guest the courtesy of at least articulating a reply. You have the channel 24/7, the 2 minutes that I have, if you allow me the courtesy of a response. And the response is as follows, that there is a distinction between critiquing the government and holding them responsible and accountable on their own rhetoric. Is it not a fact that the Defence Minister of India, after the Pathankot, had said that no terrorist can come into India without my permission? These are the last terrorists who have come into this country. No terrorist will come in after that. Was that statement not made by Mr. Parrikar? Should Mr. Parrikar not be held to account on that statement? Didn't the Home Minister, Mr. Rajnath Singh, in the March of 2015 say that we will ensure that not even a rat is able to come across the border? What to talk about terrorists? He said it in Hindi to the effect ki chua bhi ghus nahi payega, aap atangwadi ki baat to chodo. So therefore, when you have such a dastardly attack in which 18 of our brave soldiers lose their lives, is it not legitimate upon the opposition to hold the government? Forget what they had said in the past when they were in the opposition. We can say that they were shooting the breeze, though erroneously shooting the breeze, and trying to play politics with national security. But when they are charged with the responsibility, Mr. Sardesai, when they are charged with the responsibility of the national security remit, Should they not be held accountable to their own public utterances? Is that not what national security demands at this point in time? That the government be held accountable for this lapse? Is it a lapse or not?
Raj Chengappa, the opposition is saying the government must be held accountable for what they are calling a security lapse. This is 48 hours after Uri. In fact, the statements began 24 hours after Uri. Do you believe this is the right time for them to be raising this question of accountability?
Certainly not. I mean, it was wrong for Prime Minister, I mean, at that time, Gujarat Chief Minister to say what he did. And it is wrong now for what the Congress is trying to do in the heat of all this stuff that is happening. If you recall, you were talking of the past. In 1994, Prime Minister Vajpayee, Mr. Vajpayee was the leader of the opposition. Prime Minister Narasimha Rao was ruling. There was this huge problem in Kashmir where the OIC had moved at the United Nations Human Rights Commission sanction against India. Vajpayee represented India. It was Rao that sent him across. They won a famous victory and shot it down.
Is that bipartisanship possible in the kind of polarized atmosphere that we have, given the kind of statements that Mr. Modi would repeatedly make every time there was an attack when the UPA was in power?
It's a pity. I said it's wrong then, and it's wrong now for the Congress to be doing it. Right now, we require all hands on board, a united approach. There are many options that we have, diplomatic, economic sanctions, even looking at military options of various kinds. This is the time for a consensus. This is the time for all of us. This is our military. It's not the Congress military or the BJP military. I mean, these are our Jawans.
Can I put that also to you, Mohammad Salim? Because the fact is the left, and Sitaram Yechuri has given us an interview where he has said this is a time for still a dialogue with Pakistan. Now that seems to go against what the government wants at the moment. Is this the time for each political party to have their own individual position on Pakistan, or is it time for all the political parties to come together, possibly have an all-party meeting and resolve these issues rather than these constant public statements?
By exchanging position in parliament, you become opposition or you become ruling party. That doesn't mean you change your position. The CPIM and the left position is very clear. We are not scoring any point. And in fact, this type of attack took place. And what was our statement? First we condemned, and even the coffins are reaching to other martyrs, so the family. So that time we are not going to score points. But we have to make it very specific.
If the Prime Minister tomorrow decides to boycott SARC, if the Prime Minister decides to boycott SARC, or if the Prime Minister decides that tough action is needed against Pakistan, will the CPIM support it all the way?
I cannot sign a blank check, one. And secondly, I have to point out that as far as foreign policy is concerned, there was tremendous consensus. But why this consensus is not there? From 90s, the country has traveled. Rajdeep Sardesai, you are reporting for last, writing on for 3 decades. So how can you expect now?
No, so why has the consensus, that is precisely it. Right. Why has the consensus on foreign policy broken down? Foreign policy was one of the few areas where there was political consensus. Yes. Why has it broken down? Why is there this bitterness?
And then, and is the duty of the media and the people to show the Prime Minister and the government of the day that while you drive cautiously, you look at the rear view mirror also.
You look at the rear view mirror. And Nalan Kohli respond, why has the consensus broken down? Why is it that the Prime Minister has not really reached out to the opposition? Let's be clear, even the all-party meeting took place several weeks after the trouble broke out in Kashmir. Now you've had this attack. We don't know what the government plans to do, and surely you don't have to put it out on television. But surely you need to take the opposition into confidence. In the last 48 hours, I don't think there has been any contact between the government and the opposition.
Well, when it is needed, it will be done. This is not going to be done to, I think, the whole country. And if you look at the government of India, Prime Minister, Home Minister, Finance Minister, Defence Minister, National Security Advisor, Home Secretary, Foreign Secretary, Defence Secretary, everyone who's concerned and who should be concerned with what has happened is at the moment need, and when they think that the opposition should be taken on board and told, they will. What is in the interest of the country will be done. But if you expect, may I finish? We can, but do you expect that they are going to stop working and say, no, just because Mr. Tiwari and his party ad nauseum would like to keep saying that we want to feel important, so we should be called and be invited for a cup of tea so that we may come out and then score a few political brownie points. I don't think this is the moment. The Congress is entitled to have that position. With regard to Mohammad Salim ji's comment about rear view mirror, I'm sure in that rear view mirror that he pointed out, he can see JNU and he can see all those fellows colleagues of his and
Yes,
whom they
what's
stood
wrong
with,
in it?
what they,
Why did
what
you
they,
listen to the voice of the young people?
One minute.
I haven't finished.
1 minute.
I didn't
This
discuss.
is not.
I will
Sir, this is not.
No, I have not finished.
This has
In that
nothing
way,
to do
I
with
will
JNU,
not-
sir.
I will
Why are
not
we
allow the
raising
debate to
JNU
go
at
on.
a
I
time?
can non-stop
You can't tackle
disrupt.
enemies of the country.
I am
You are
going to
making
hold
Indian
on.
population
No,
your
let
enemy.
me just finish. Let me finish. In that rear view mirror, I'm sure he does see JNU and he does see all those famous personalities with whom he stood there. What their comments in 24 hours on Facebook, Twitter, etc. were related to everything in the world except against terrorism and except
That's the
in
problem.
favor of
You
the
are
martyrs.
busy with Facebook,
That
Twitter
is
and
the
social
problem.
media and rhetorics.
You all
No,
have
not
double
seeing
standards. You stood along with China in the Indo-China war, and very safely you might also want to stand with those who want to see Bharat ke tukde ho jaye aur Kashmir ki azadi tak. You are entitled to have that position.
What you are saying now?
This is
You know, this is unfortunate that we are we don't want this crosstalk. This crosstalk will not go on, sir.
Forceful point of view.
Gentlemen, can we just, I will ask my producer to switch off the microphones if there's crosstalk, but Manish Tiwari, in conclusion, what is this outreach that you expect the Prime Minister to do? Let's be specific. What do you want the Prime Minister in a crisis? He's calling the meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security. He says, I have got all my ministers on board. What does the opposition really expect of Narendra Modi?
Well, Rajdeep, let me make 3 quick points. Mr. Raj Chengappa referred to Mr. Vajpayee's visit to Geneva, where there was this famous photograph on the front page of India Today, he and Salman Khurshid hugging each other. But who made that outreach? That outreach was made by the then Prime Minister Narasimha Rao to the then leader of the opposition, Mr. Vajpayee. And that's how the Geneva visit fructified.
Yes.
Number 2, the consensus on foreign policy broke down when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1989. Because after that, there was a clear division or a clear distinction between a neoliberal construct and people who possibly wanted a continuity of some kind in terms of foreign policy. And I can go on ad nauseum. And number 3, what the opposition wants, Mr. Sardesai, if you would stop interrupting, is for the Prime Minister to articulate 2 things. That, Mr. Prime Minister, do you have a policy towards Pakistan? It has not been visible in the last 27 months. If you have a policy, please articulate that policy even before you call an all-party meeting, so that the country at least knows what your policy towards Pakistan is.
Okay,
because
you
in the last 27 months, all you have seen is U-turns, flip-flops and somersaults.
Okay.
And that does not substitute for policy.
I'm going to give you the final word. Is that part of the problem, that we don't know what the Prime Minister wants to do next? Because in the last 27 months, there have been numerous flip-flops. Therefore, the opposition also is just as confused as possibly the nation is. We don't know what this Prime Minister would like to do, what Narendra Modi would like to do next with Pakistan.
Yes, Rajdeep, that is certainly a problem. This is a time that he needs to brief all the opposition leaders as to what India is planning, whether in the UN, what are the action. Once he's clear of it, of course, we do have to give him the time to sort of do it. He needs to bring them on board. Secondly, I'm pretty saddened at what this whole debate is about, because actually the Congress, there were a lot of promises that Pakistan made to Prime Minister Manmohan Singh when he was there. This is the time for the Congress to stand up and say, Mr. Prime Minister, you told this to us. You have not fulfilled those promises, including, curtailing terrorists. This is the time for complete bipartisanship, where everybody stands united and says, on a united front, obviously this is a great crisis for us, and we should not be fighting in this. Even the remarks that Nalin Kohli made about Balochistan, unfortunate. Why would you be pointing out some other, instance that is there?
So you're saying no time for JNU, Bharat ke tukde honge rhetoric, no time for Balochistan, no time to remind people of what Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah said when the UPA was in power. This is a time for true bipartisanship to emerge. Well, in the present polarized political climate, I'm afraid
but
that
a democracy is not a monolith. A democracy is not a totalitarian state.
A monologue at one side.
No, it's not.
A democracy is not a monolith. A democracy is not a totalitarian state. We stand against terror, but we will not stand by a government which doesn't have a policy on terror.
No, Mr. Kohli, 20 seconds, and you must stick to that. What is it that you want to say to those who say the Prime Minister's flip-flops have led both the opposition and the government and the nation confused, which is why there is no consensus emerging? Well, quick answer, 20 seconds.
Yes, it will be 20 seconds. The Congress is entitled to call it flip-flop, but that so-called flip-flop has led to an international recognition of Pakistan being a problem state. that is being consolidated, and some of the things you are seeing at the global stage have happened because Prime Minister Modi's government has been doing so. But if the Congress sees it at flip-flop, they are entitled to. Whether they see it or not, it's not how we would like to believe.
Okay, so
we'd like to do what has to be done in the
Nawaz
nation's
Sharif's granddaughter's wedding in December.
Retribution is what you promised, and platitudes are what you're giving.
The Prime Minister has stopped the Prime Minister from doing what has to be done on the international stage.
You know, you mock the sacrifice of our braves.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, we don't have the model of introspection.
Platitudes is what you're giving this country.
We don't have the model of introspection.
I have to press the mute button there, I'm afraid, and end that debate there. Let's then turn to my take. India above politics. What does it really mean? There is a big difference between being in the government and being in the opposition when dealing with Pakistan, as the Modi government's now discovering. The rhetoric of oppositional politics is in sharp contrast to the realities of being in power. Power demands responsibility. Warmongering is easy when there is no accountability. We must wield the stick, but wield it with care. Importantly, the government and the opposition must speak in one voice in a crisis. Leave politics aside and past antagonisms for another day. This is a moment to place India firmly above politics. That's my take today.